Hi, and welcome to this 10-minute tip on the basics of the Grade Center. In this session, you will learn how to access the Grade Center, a little bit more about exploring the Grade Center, how to set up the Grade Center, including creating columns, editing grading schemas so you can use percentages, reorganizing columns and phrasing columns, and editing columns. You'll also learn how to grade assignments that are submitted both inside of Blackboard and outside of Blackboard. So let's get started. First thing you'll want to do is access the Grade Center. You access the Grade Center from within a Blackboard course from within the control panel. Here you'll see the word Grade Center, which I can click on to expand this menu, and then I'll enter the full Grade Center. So here you have my Grade Center for a sandbox. Within this screen you'll see that you have a Create Column button, create a calculated column, so this is how you can add a total column or a weighted column. Manage, so this is where you'll find grading periods, schemas, categories, column organization, role visibility, and we'll talk about a few of those in a little bit more depth. And then you can also create a Grade Center report. Then here is where you actually see your Grade Center. So you'll see the column names. You'll see next to each column name that there is a drop-down menu that you can click for more options. You'll see a list of all of your enrolled students. You might see their username and their banner ID. You'll also find last access here, so you'll see the last time they entered the course. Then you also see your cells. So within these cells, you can manually enter information. You'll see that again there's a drop down that you can click with more information, and we'll talk about more when we get to the topic of grading. And then also another important area is the icon legend. So if you don't know what any of the symbols mean while you're navigating the Grade Center, I recommend clicking that and you'll be able to see what the various symbols mean. So setting up the Grade Center. Many of you might have students submit assignments that are not within Blackboard. Maybe you see students face-to-face, maybe you're using an outside program like VoiceThread, and you still want to be able to include those grades in the Grade Center. To do that, you're going to go to Create Column here on the left and click on it. From here you'll see that it opens up this screen. As with Blackboard, anything with this orange asterisk is required, so you'll give it a column name. Make sure it's something that both you and students understand. So for this, I'm going to title it VoiceThread Discussion Number 1. You can ignore the Grade Center name in the description. You'll decide whether it's going to be a score out of points, letter, text, percentage, or complete, incomplete, or pass-fail. I'm going to leave it as score because I'm going to have a set number of points. You can also choose to put it in a set category. So since this is a discussion, I want it to still be part of the discussion category if I were to want to use my smart views, which you'll see over here on the left. Give it the points possible, so this is worth 10 points. And I can also add a rubric. This is the interactive rubric tool that is built into Blackboard. I already have a number of rubrics created, so I'm going to click my discussion board rubric and continue using that one. If you did not have a rubric already, then you would come back here, and instead of selecting rubric, you would create new. When adding rubrics in Blackboard, just one quick note, you'll want to make sure you come over here to the right, and you'll want to set it to be yes with rubric scores. If you leave it at the default no, students will never be able to see that rubric, which slightly defeats the point of it. At this point you can also give it a due date, so I know that this discussion is going to be due on December 6th I like to have everything due at the end of the day. You can leave these default settings down here. For now, it is something that hopefully we'll have time to talk about in a few minutes. Now you're ready to submit. So I've now created my column, and if I scroll way down here to the right, you'll see this last column is my VoiceThread discussion. So say I want to edit my columns. I created my course, and my columns are now not in either a synchronous fashion, or maybe you like to group assignments by category. To do that, you're going to go to the Manage tab. If you hover over that, you'll see that this drop-down menu appears, and you can now select Column Organization. Within column organization, you can do a number of things. This is really a nice view to come to. I use this view if I need to see if I've put due dates for all of my columns. Maybe I've overlooked one. I can do this to see all of the points that are associated with all of my columns without having to go in and edit each column individually. This is also the view where I can reorganize my columns and also where I can set frozen columns. So frozen columns are exactly that. They're frozen in place. Even as you scroll to the right, they're always going to be there on the left. I like to have my total column frozen so that as I scroll I can always see how many points a student has to date. I also want to move that VoiceThread discussion number 1 up to the top under introductions because it's a discussion that they'll encounter early on in the course. So once I've made all of my changes, I'm going to click Submit. One more note, this is also where you can see any discussions, assignments, any columns that you have hidden from yourself. Another nice feature that you'll want to do in your Grade Center to set it up is go back to your Manage column and you're going to go to Grading Schemas. Blackboard by default has a grading schema included that associates your points, your percentages with letter grades. However, it probably is not based on the grading schema set up by your department. So you're going to want to come in here and you'll see that next to it is that little drop down arrow that you can click and click Edit. From within this view, you'll see that I can set up my grading schema based on percentage. So I have this set up by the School of Education's, well, yes, I don't have it quite set up yet, but this is where you can come in and set your percentage based on the letter grade. You can also delete rows. So for example, the School of Education, I don't have D minuses, so I can simply delete that row and you'll see that the D minus is now gone. Once the grading schema is set up how you need it, click Submit. And then go ahead and scroll down and click OK, and this will return us to the Grade Center. Two more topics I want to cover real quickly, and what's left of our 10 minutes is how to grade. So the first thing I want to grade is that VoiceThread discussion. So my students have they've gone into VoiceThread and they've participated, and I'm now ready to grade them. You might think that this isn't possible to do with the rubric now, but it is. So you have two options. You can either simply click in this cell and give students the number of points, or you can click this drop down and view grade details. This enables me to have access to my interactive rubric. So now I'll click View Rubric, and this is going to pop open my interactive rubric. Now I can go through and I can simply go through, select my points, add additional feedback, and then click Save. Then I also like to provide some additional feedback to the learner about maybe a highlight of their post and then possibly something they can improve on for next time. Now I'll click Save, and I'm going to return to the Grade Center, and you'll see that that grade has now saved. You can also grade assignments that have been submitted within Blackboard. You'll see this yellow asterisk shows up, or exclamation point, for everything that has been submitted in Blackboard. I'm ready to grade this Your Take on Philosophy paper. I'm going to come in and find, for this assignment I allow multiple attempts, so I'm going to find the most recent attempt that hasn't been graded, and this is going to load the Crocodoc assignment grader. Within this, if I click Comment, I can now actually draw on the screen. I can use these little comment flags, and I can provide feedback directly where it's relevant. So this is really nice. Then again, I can come over here, I can find my interactive grading rubric, put in the number of points, change things around, Click Save. You'll see that it automatically puts my score in, and again I can provide now additional feedback to the student. This is where I would let students also know that I did use the interactive rubric and I did provide detailed feedback to their assignment. Once I click Submit, students can now see that. So this is the end of our 10-minute tip on the basics of the Grade Center. Thank you for joining me.